the Honourable Olivia Grange, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Senator the Honourable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, other members of the Cabinet in attendance, Her Excellency Margazata Vasiliska, Head of Delegation of the European Union, and other members of the Diplomatic Corps present, Yolita Butkeviciene, Director for Latin America and the Caribbean at the European Union's Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development, Michelle Giles McDonough, Director, Sustainable Development Unit, Executive Office of the Secretary General of the United Nations, and other heads of international organizations. I see Mariko Kagoshima, UN Resident Coordinator, our permanent secretaries, heads of public bodies and private entities, stakeholders of the gender community, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It is my great pleasure to be here this morning for this most important occasion, the national launch of the Spotlight Initiative in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, and the European Union in Jamaica and the United Nations. At the Spotlight Initiative high-level event at the 74th UN General Assembly in September 2019, I committed to making the elimination of gender-based violence, especially violence against women and girls, a high priority objective for the government of Jamaica. I advised that Jamaica is pursuing several policy and legislative measures designed to create a more cohesive and a more resilient society. Our major goals are to promote in an inclusive and sustainable way economic growth, opportunities, peace, social harmony, and citizen safety and security. As a government, we are committed to the national vision of making Jamaica the place of choice for people to live, work, raise families, do business, and I have added retire in paradise. For this vision to be achieved, Jamaica must remain steadfast in our efforts to eliminate violence against women and girls. Violence against women and girls continues to be one of the most widespread, persistent, and devastating human rights violations in our world today. In Jamaica, as was said before, 1 in 4 women have reported experiencing physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. And this was based on the Women's Survey 2016. This is an issue on which we have been acting. We have been working to bring an end to gender-based violence through legislative, policy, and programmatic actions that protect victims of violence and bring perpetrators to justice. We are working towards building a culture free of violence, a culture where women and our girls are respected, protected, and celebrated. In December 2017, we launched a 10-year national strategic action plan to eliminate gender-based violence. And in 2018, we launched the first public education campaign titled No Excuse for Abuse. You remember that, Minister Grange? Along with UN Women, we have been building out an island-wide social media campaign to increase awareness for the protection of women and girls. At the same time, we are engaging men and boys as key partners in the ongoing program to provide empowerment. We have also made significant national budgetary allocations for the construction of 3 nationally owned and operated shelters for abused women and their children. I'm told by Minister Grange that this fiscal year, we should be able to have all 3 open and operational. The Spotlight Initiative is a joint European Union and United Nations multi-year global initiative focused on eliminating all forms of violence against women and girls. As its name suggests, it is meant to focus attention on the issue, moving it into the spotlight and placing it at the center of efforts to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment. I am therefore pleased today to launch the Spotlight Initiative Country Program for Jamaica. The Spotlight Initiative in Jamaica will be a 3-year program costing approximately US $10.6 million. It will contribute to transforming our society into one where women and girls can thrive, free of any kind of violence towards them. It will focus on addressing the issue of normalization of violence in Jamaica and encourage society to see family violence as a public issue requiring consistent and concerted effort to address. The initiative will focus its intervention within 4 parishes, which have been determined to have high levels of violence towards women and girls, while work will continue on the legislation and policy aspects to impact the entire population. Although the initiative takes a women and girls-centered approach, men and boys will also be engaged in order to address the issue of toxic masculinity. That was explained by Minister Grange and further explored in our Parliament by Minister Terrelong, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education. And Minister Grange said it seems to be embedded in the society, and I would want to agree with you that the historical nature and development of our society would certainly embed these kinds of gender power relationships, which have now reached the point where they are toxic. This morning I was reading the paper and you referred to the incident. A very unfortunate incident, but it reflects so poorly on our society. It occurred in Westmoreland. And what struck me was that the sister of the abuser who perished as a result of what is reported of the abused victim's response made a critical point. She said she warned him. She told him not to do this. And the family, it appears, recognized that abuse was taking place, abuse which has resulted in the loss of life. But it speaks to a gap, because this kind of situation is prevalent across the society, indeed rooted in the society. And what we're doing here today is a policy response supported by our international partners, the EU and the UN, to respond to what is essentially in Jamaica a public crisis of epidemic proportions. And I don't want to use the term epidemic in the current context, but the epidemiology of the situation suggests that it is not a private social transaction. It is costing and having an impact on the public good. And therefore, the government has to intervene. So this argument about it is man and woman business, meaning it is a private business in which the state has no locus, that is utter nonsense. If you beat up your woman, it has an impact on the state. It has an impact on the children who will grow up to probably becoming abusers or acceptors of abuse. It has an impact on our murder rate. It has an impact on the well-being generally of the community. It creates an acceptance of violence as the means of resolving conflict. And it has an impact on our economy. When an abused woman can't go to work, or when someone dies as the breadwinner, it has an impact. So this is not man and woman business. This is now the business of the people of Jamaica, and thereby the government of Jamaica will intervene. Minister Grange has just pointed out to me that the parish in which this very tragic incident has occurred, Westmoreland, is one of the 4 parishes that will benefit from the intervention. The initiative will improve women's access to services by 1, strengthening existing reporting, referral, and case management mechanisms and tools that link survivors to service providers along the continuum of care, ensuring that rural communities and non-traditional groups are not excluded. It sounds very complex, but it means that we will support the systems that can bring the services and conduct the intervention. 2, creating models of integration, coordination, and communication among national and subnational institutions to enhance capacity, prevention, and delivery of services. What this means is that at the governmental level, all the agencies will coordinate their effort. I hope my speechwriters are listening. And 3, assessing and using alternative forms of justice other than the criminal justice system to provide easier access to justice, especially in cases of family violence. And I think that's self-explanatory. A particularly innovative feature of the program is that it will utilize visual arts, Jamaican popular music, storytelling, theater, and photography to convey messages which aim to promote positive parenting, gender equality, and respect among girls, boys, men, and women. The content of this messaging will be geared primarily towards addressing the root causes of family violence and the promotion of positive gender norms and gender equality. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the global community will mark the 25th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women and the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action 1995. A 5-year milestone will also be reached towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. 2020 is therefore a pivotal year for the accelerated realization of gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls everywhere. This is a vision of a more prosperous, peaceful, and fair world that is ultimately better for both men and women alike. Collaboration and partnership are essential to realizing the goal of engendering a safe society where no one is abused, oppressed, or disenfranchised. A whole of society, whole of government, and institutional approach is critical to achieving this goal. The government of Jamaica is deeply appreciative of the support of our partners, the European Union and the United Nations. They have made significant investments through the Spotlight Initiative Country Program to the cause of ending violence against women and girls. Jamaica is committed to this program as it supports our vision of a disciplined and harmonious society where everyone's sacred rights and freedoms are protected and respected, and where all Jamaicans can self-actualize. I thank you.